Hello friends, welcome to this session on GitHub Action. Today we are going to build a continuous integration pipeline for Python test. So let's start a new repo. So I'm creating a new repo as a public, add a readme file. A repo has been created. So in this session we are going to build a GitHub Actions for continuous integration for Python project where we wish that whenever we merge the child branch with the main branch, some test cases should run automatically. And if everything goes well, the child branch should be merged with the main branch. Let's create a simple function in Python which we wish to test. I'm creating a file with main.py, and you can see that we are defining a simple add method which is taking two parameter and returning the sum of these two numbers. So we wish to test this function. So let's first commit that changes. So at this time in my repo, I have only one file, that is main.py, returning the sum of two numbers. Now I'm creating another file, test underscore main.py, which will run the test case for this function. So this is the simple code of this file which will run the test cases. In first line, I'm defining that I'm importing add method from main. This is test function with name test underscore add. Here we are calling our add method with parameter 2, 3, and of course the expected result will be 5. Here we are using assert statement to run these test cases. Assert statement will raise assertion error if the expected output is not same as the actual output. So here we are calling method add 2, 3. So this will return the actual output, that is 5 in that case. So here we are comparing actual output with the expected output, and if both are same, then assert statement simply move to the next statement. But if output of this is not same as 5, this will raise assertion error. So the point is that this statement will raise assertion error if the output of this method is not 5. Otherwise, it will move to the next statement. Next statement, we are having another test case where we are calling the same method add with -1 and +1. In this case, the output should be 0. So this is the expected output. Actual output I will get with this call. So if actual is same as expected, this assert statement will pass this test or perform no action and move to the next assert statement. But if the actual is not same as expected, it will raise the assertion error. In the final case, we are just passing 0, 0 and comparing it with the 0 expected with the actual. And if it is same, this assertion error will pass the test case. So here we are having three test cases. And if each of these function works successfully, all the test cases will be passed. But otherwise, we will get assertion error. So this is the simple code for writing test case. And I'm writing that in test underscore main.py. It's very important to start the name of this file with test underscore because we will be using PyTest, and so PyTest library will look for test cases with test underscore file name. So the test cases should be present with a file name which start with test underscore. Let's commit these changes. Now we are creating another file, that is requirement.txt. So here in requirement.txt, we are specifying our library for running these test cases, and this time we are using PyTest. So PyTest is the only requirement to run these test cases, and we are specifying that in requirement.txt. So here we are committing these changes, and now we have final three files. We are ready to have our configuration files. So let's create YAML file so that we can start GitHub Actions for continuous integrations. So let's create a new file. So these are the contents of. So here we are defining tests on merge to main. So it will run all the test cases automatically whenever we merge with the main. The event is push on the main branches. So whenever we have push in the main branch, this GitHub pipeline will run. So we are defining the jobs. You know that in first statement we are defining our runner. So it says that this runner will run on Ubuntu server. This runner will be managed by GitHub. Then we are defining the steps. So the first step is to define checkout code, and it uses actions checkout version 3. So it's important to understand the purpose of this. The purpose of this step is to pull the code from our GitHub repo to the workflow runners. So you see that in this GitHub repo, I have created main.py and also I have my test cases. I want that this workflow runner should able to access my code because it need to access main.py and test underscore main.py. So in order to do that, we simply using this repo, which say that pull the code from GitHub repo to the workflow runners. So it allow the workflow runner to execute or pull the code which is defined in my GitHub repo. So it means that we are giving access to workflow runner to my repo so that it can execute my code. So here we are defining the actions at the rate checkout version 3, which is a standard GitHub action that is used to check out my repo code. And it's important to understand that here v3 is simply the version which is the latest stable version for this checkout operation. And checkout is the code which is inside because all the subsequent steps require access of our source code file. So without this step, the runner will not able to access my repo code. So it will not able to run the test cases. So in order to make it sure that my test cases and main function can access and executed on workflow runner. So that's why we are giving the permission by running this portion of the code. So after having this, then we are setting our Python. So here we are again using another GitHub repo from Actions, which you use to install desired version of Python. Next step is to install the dependency. And you know that we have defined all the dependency in requirements.txt. So here we are just defining that. Here we are running two statements. First is Python pip install upgrade. So we are just making it sure that it should have latest upgraded version of the Python every time when this GitHub action run. And second is we are installing all the requirements which we mentioned in requirements.txt. And you know that the only requirement was pytest. So ultimately this command will install pytest on my runner. Once having all the dependency, the last step is just to run the test cases. To run the test cases, we are just running pytest. So this pytest automatically look for test underscore any Python file. So here we have file with name test underscore main.py. So that file will run. And here we are defining a tag with maxfail is equal to file. It means that this section actually tell the pytest to stop execution test after 5 failures. Sometime in my test file I can have 100 of test cases. So here we are defining that if 5 test cases are failed, then there is no need to run remaining test cases. So it is just about improving on the performance. So it will not keep on running the test cases if already 5 tests are failed. So we have now this file in .github workflows. Let's commit these changes. You can see here in workflow we have this YAML file, and you can also check that in actions. So you can see that a action text on merge to main has been created. So now let us create a child branch. So here let's create a child branch. So we have created a child branch, and in this child branch let's create a new file test for. We have made changes in our child branch. You can see that this is now one commit head of main. Let's contribute. So here we are creating pull request from child to main. Create this pull request, merge pull request, confirm this merge. So when you confirm the merge, you will see that the test case will automatically run, and you can cross check that in actions. So here you see that merge pull request one from Pratik, and now it is queued. So this will run, and it will run all the test cases and everything. If everything goes well, the child branch will be merged with the main branch. Successfully performed its operation. You can click on that. You can see the test. So these are the actions which are performed in sequence. First, set up job, then it perform checkout code by running actions from checkout version 3. Then we set up the Python. I hope you remember that we use this as the next step. Then we install all the dependencies. Then we run the test cases. And then finally we clean up the things. This indicates that everything works successfully. We can now go to the main branch and see that in this main branch, this test file has been added, which is actually merged from the child branch. So whenever you perform any merging in the main branch, you will see that the GitHub action pipeline will run automatically. And in this case, it will run all the test cases. And if everything goes fine, the child branch will be merged to the main branch. So this is all about this session. The link of this repo is available in the description of this video so that you can try this on your own. Thanks for watching this video. God bless you. Bye bye.